Well, hello, hello, and happy Wednesday. So good to be with you again. It has been 1 week since we have done this. And of course, all the members of Unboring Wedding Academy laugh because we have been live on Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday together. And so some of you continue to show up, which I absolutely love. But if you're not a member of Unboring Wedding Academy, that's okay. We don't hold it against you. You are welcome. And I'm excited today to talk about, as somebody said in the chat earlier before we went live, I think, Jeff, it is back to the basics today. We can't talk about pro stuff and software tools that I'm designing and releasing all the time. Sometimes we just got to get back to how to officiate a great ceremony. That really is a lot of what the Unboring Wedding Show Live is about here. And so I'm so thrilled that so many of you could join. Today, I want to talk about those few moments where you mention yourself in the wedding ceremony as the officiant. There are only a handful. And the reason for that is we don't want it to turn into the wedding officiant show. When you talk to people who are a bit put off by the wedding officiant, typically it's because they felt like, well, they have a few complaints, I guess. Not many, thankfully. But a lot of the time, either they were, they seemed like they didn't put any thought into it. It was very impersonal, that kind of thing, which is why a lot of couples are turning to friends and family. So if you're a pro, we need to pay attention to that. And I talk about that and teach that in my training. We want to be very personal and personalized. But really, another thing is they just feel like the officiant made it all about them. And so we'll talk today about how an officiant is not giving a wedding reception speech. And it's not time to kind of clown around up there, which is why I kind of am calling this session the reflective officiant. And yes, there is a double meaning there, that if you're perceptive, you'll start to put that together. But I'm looking forward to telling you the essentially 7 times that you want to basically even just say the word I in the wedding ceremony. And so if you want to start, again, thinking along, put your thinking cap on. What are the 7 times where you mention I? I'm going to say hello to you in the chat and go there in a bit. But maybe some of you, if you aren't driving, as I see some of you are, maybe you want to start compiling a little list. Maybe throw it in the chat. What are the 7 and only 7 times you want to say the word I or me? And then there are going to be 3 kind of extemporaneous circumstance bonus moments where you want to say the word I. And one that I absolutely recommend and suggest, and I'm sort of saying you need to. And Jeff, you are going to want to pay attention to this. I'm mentioning Jeff because he has his, I believe, daughter's ceremony coming up, as he's been talking about. So, Jeff, that'll be right at the end. There is one where that is specific to your situation, okay? So I'm really looking forward to going through that with you today. If you are new and joining us, please say hello in the chat. A lot of you have wondered, sometimes I need to do an FAQ on this, which is how come I'm not appearing in the chat or seeing the chat, or I can't comment in the chat. The reason for that is you need to be logged in to YouTube in order to comment, okay? So log in now if you're not logged in already in your YouTube app or on your computer, however you're watching this, log into YouTube. If you've never logged into YouTube before, maybe you'll need to open up a Gmail account. If you have a Gmail account, guess what? YouTube and Gmail and Google, sorry, I shouldn't be saying Gmail, a Google account. But a Gmail account, because you get a Gmail address when you sign up. So a lot of people apply for a Gmail address, which means they have a Google account, which means you have a YouTube channel. Did you know that? It just comes with the territory. Log in, then you can comment, okay? So thank you for those of you who have reached out and said, how the heck do I comment? I don't think I can comment. I'm never able to comment. Just log in, and then you'll see that feature magically appear. A lot of you say, why can't I see the chat on the replay that is streaming by right now? Even as I'm speaking, I can see it. So many great things happening in the chat. Typically, it takes YouTube a day or two to sync all the comments with the video and things like that. So it takes a little while, but definitely older videos that are on replay, you can see the chat. I still have a hard time finding it in my YouTube app, to be honest. But if you watch this on a computer or maybe on your TV, it easily pops up on the right hand side for me, and you can see all the chat going by. Okay, so that is part of what makes this experience so great. A lot of us connect. I saw a lot of people saying, "Hey, we got to stop meeting like this, etc." Lots of members here, like I say, who we have been in days and days of live. I'm sure a lot of you are relieved that I don't need to open up Officiantly now and teach you. You don't have to have your kind of learning caps on in that sense. We are right in the middle of launching Efficiently, which is brand new wedding officiant software that I've created that automates every step of the wedding officiant process. So if you're wondering about some of that, then that is why so many members of Unboring Wedding Academy are exhausted, because everybody who's a member got a free trial version, one ceremony version, and they've been working away on learning how to use that, and it's been an absolute blast. And then some of you are saying you must be relieved that, Mark, that you're not going to have to go live tomorrow on Thursday. Well, as I said, I think to Mike, speak for yourself. I actually really enjoy this when I wake up in the morning and say, hey, I get to go live today and hang out with people who I really like, and I'm going to miss it tomorrow morning. I'm honestly going to miss. Maybe I'll just come on here and think of something to say. Maybe we'll talk sports or something. No, I wouldn't be the person for that. Weather. I did see Karen Hooper say it is freezing in Florida, and I wonder what that means, because today it is in the 20s Fahrenheit here. We woke up to minus 14 in New Brunswick. Siri, convert that to Fahrenheit. Oh, yeah, there. My phone actually replied to that. No, never mind. But it's cold here. It's cold. It's all relative, right? Okay, now I love what Ben just said. I am not going to say it. So keep your shot glasses full. That is that we're not gonna. I'm not even gonna mention it. I just put it on the screen. If you're listening, you're wondering what it is, and I'm not going to say it. And if you're driving, I know that you definitely don't have your shot glasses ready, right? Okay. Okay, this is interesting. Ben is already. I have one last question. Can you? That's good. So Ben is already working on his 7, right? Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know if I included that one in there because it's all in how you say it. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to the 7 times, now that you're speculating, that you can or might want to say me or I, self-referencing, in the wedding ceremony. And the reason why I am a stickler about this, as I said, is because on the one hand, we don't want to be distant and impersonal. We don't want to be the kind of officiant that just shows up, doesn't seem to know what they were doing half an hour before this wedding ceremony, right? And if you're doing the Unboring wedding style and system, you are telling the couple's love story. You've put in all the work. You're super locked into the couple and the guests. We know this already. But on the other hand, we don't want to turn this into the wedding officiant show, right? We do not want to be sucking the attention, which is why I say, as wedding officiants, we need to be reflecting back any and all of the attention we are getting back onto the couple. We are standing there front and center typically. I know there's some new TikTok zeitgeist of, stand off to the side or stand in the aisle. That Thankfully, I haven't had to do that yet. I just have thoughts on that, not in terms of, the tradition of the officiant needs to stand in the middle. I see where that's coming from, but the Unboring wedding style and system, so much of it is addressing the guests. That is a huge secret. It's a bonus. Here's a freebie that you didn't even. This is just something I'm throwing out there for you today. When you are telling the couple's love story and making your speech, 90% of the time you are talking to the guests, not the couple. That's what makes The style and system that I teach and share, so powerful, and the guests can't really put their finger on it, but they always leave an Unboring Wedding style wedding ceremony and say, what was it? I mean, yeah, the story was great and the officiant was loose and down to earth, but what was it that made it so much better than other weddings? And that is because you actually spoke to the guests for almost the entire ceremony. Traditionally, and a lot of the weddings I've seen, the officiant is just talking to the couple, and the guests feel like they're just, I don't know, eavesdropping. They are peripheral to what's going on. They don't even really need to be there. But right from the opening remarks, when you start talking to the guests, and then when the couple are in front of you and you tell the couple's story to the guests, that is a huge secret, okay? And now and that is why when you're talking to the guests about the couple, you're just reflecting any and all of the attention you get, like a mirror. Okay, so that's kind of the image that I always have when I'm up there. I'm dressed dapper. I'm a bit of a force to be reckoned with when it comes to energy. People say, I love your energy and that, but I would be mortified if I ever thought or found out that I outshined either marrier in some way. I want to be absolutely facilitating their day. I want everything I say to be about them. That is why there's really only 7, and in some cases 10, and maybe 11, Ben, depending on how you phrase it. I just like the numbers 7 and 10, and I really thought I was done. And now, Ben, you really messed it up for me because 8 and 11. Come on, I don't know. Is there something special about those numbers? Let me know, and then I'll change my thinking about it. But let's jump in here. But first, I just want to say, am I missing anything awesome in the chat? I think I always am, right? Good to see you. And again, if you are new here, first time, then pop in the chat. A lot of the people who you see here know each other because they're Unboring Wedding Academy members. We've met in Vegas. I can't believe I'm going to say it. We've perhaps met in person at Wedding MBA. There it is. And so that is why you're seeing such amazing camaraderie. There's a private Facebook group, etc. So if you feel like you're walking into the middle of a party, it is the most accepting, welcoming, open, amazing party of elite wedding officiant pros, some of who haven't even officiated a wedding yet. They came inside as members because they're officiating for a friend or family member, and that is the intention of Unboring Wedding Academy, is first timers and leading edge officiants who want to up their game. That is why I do what I do. Unboringweddingacademy.com. Okay. So let's see what's going on here. Ben is saying tomorrow is no chat, no live, no Mark Thursday. Well, like I said, I feel the same way. So, but again, I do love it, and I'm glad you love it as much as I do. So, my goodness, we got Mike here. We got Jeff is here, of course. Kiki is driving. John is here from Chile, Massachusetts. Jeff, good to see you. How are you? And thanks for all your input. I think you're talking to Mike there. Don't mind me. Awesome to see you. Reverend Claudia is here and says, we got to stop meeting like this. Au contraire, I would say let's meet like this more often, at least once a week on Wednesdays, okay? Bill is here. Good to see you. A lot of familiar names today because of people jumping in and grabbing Unboring Weddings Efficiently Unlimited. I mentioned that software. We're in the middle of the founders offer. So love seeing all the names here who have grabbed that. And thanks to all of you. You have contributed to a very busy week for all of us. Jennifer Obakata, my incredible operations manager at Unboring Wedding, who helps me wade through all the emails and all the admin stuff and all of the logins and just creating and making sure we provide incredible service to Unboring Wedding Academy and Pro and website members. Anybody who purchases anything from me, you know that I'm directly connected to you. And Jen helps a lot with that facilitation. We always want to get back to you really quickly, help you, support you. And so Jen helps with the triaging of that and fielding your questions, getting you all set up, logged in when you lose your login information, all that stuff. So cool that Jen is in the house. Karen Hooper, who is freezing in Florida, good to see you. Carol, oh my goodness. And then we've got Rosie here from Cyprus, which is amazing. Tamara and Let me see. Sarah, good to see you here as well. Anita, A-R-T, Anita in Tennessee. Nice to see you. And Charlie. Like I say, lots of Opie's in the house. This is absolutely fantastic. And then I see Ben and people putting in some of the people putting in their names. James is here. Good to see you. First time on chat. Yes. And thanks for jumping on board with all the things, James. Great to see you. You clearly logged into YouTube, and now you can chat with us. Beth is here. Amazing. Okay, I think I'm at the bottom of it now. All right. So, as you know, when we get in front of the guests, there's a crowd out there. The first time that you want to say I, and so here's number one, is when you give a brief introduction of yourself. It takes me about 2.5 seconds, okay? And so I know I call this FAQ training today because I do get asked a lot. Things like, should I really lean into my name and my company? And sometimes I get on coaching calls. My name is so and so. I'm related this way to the couple. Almost like we have to give some sort of credential. We have to earn our authority. We have to earn our eligibility to officiate the wedding. And I would say no, absolutely not. My philosophy here is the kind of the sales technique again. From sales, nobody cares about you until they know you can solve their problem. It sounds a bit harsh, but it's one of the greatest maxims that I ever heard a number of years ago. No one is going to really, stop their day, whether it's on social media or a Google. They're not going to be into me until they know that I'm here to help them solve a very specific pain point. And so you can just take that to the bank for most of the things you do on a public level. Again, I've talked about how I've even run for public office. And when you knock on somebody's door, they look at you like this until you get them talking about their problems and how you intend to address them and solve them and get to work for them. Then they're interested in you. Okay. And so it's similar in business. And I would say when you're officiating a wedding, you do not need to get up there and say, my name's so and so, I'm related to them. I mean, if you are related, you might say, I'm Aunt Sue, I'm Greg's aunt or something like that really quickly. But if you're a professional, my name is Mark. I am honored to be the officiant today. So do start out introducing yourself. Otherwise, we're always striking this balance. Everything I say today, we're striking a balance between, making it all about us and being kind of an impersonal robot that anybody could be doing that up there, right? We do want to be giving parts of ourselves. We want to be making sure that we are felt and reachable and making a connection with the guests. So when you're giving opening remarks, and this is a whole other rabbit hole, I think I say that a lot on these. We can go down multiple rabbit holes here. You're going to be up there with a marrier sometimes, maybe the marrier's party. The processional hasn't happened yet. You do this before. You step up there. Sometimes you're alone. That's part of what you're going to work out with your couple in your wedding workshop planning session, right? So you get up there and you introduce yourself. My name is so-and-so. Then, of course, you talk about how guests need to put away their cameras, or you may take photos. And then you tell people, please turn off your ringers and things like that. And then you invite them. Having said that, should we get to it? Should we get these two hitched? Now, if you're thinking of a word cloud for opening remarks, those word clouds where you put in the words, all the words that were spoken, and the most frequent word is the big one in the middle. That's a word cloud, right? I want you to think in terms of word cloud for your opening remarks. The word that should be right in the center is you. You meaning the guests. Your opening remarks are directly addressing the guests. So right from the beginning, I always say, good afternoon, everyone. And again, this is an imperative sentence grammatically. Where you, good afternoon to you, everyone. And they don't say anything back. And I say, oh, come on now. We have this whole place to ourselves. You can be more rowdy than that. Or I know our couple want you to be rowdy. I just said I know there. So, add that one if you want. It's all in how you phrase it, as I said to Ben. But really, it's about them. You can do it. Good afternoon, everyone. Are you ready for these two to get married? and you're kind of whipping them up. But so the first I is my name is so and so. Then you move through your opening remarks, and then you ask, should we get to it? Should we get these two married? If I'm up there with a marrier, I'll say, are you ready, to the marrier, bride or groom? And they'll say, yep. And then I say, okay, well, they're ready. So let's begin. Okay, so that is the first thing. Then the processional happens. And if there's a question, who gives this marrier, that's the traditional, who gives this woman to be married? Of course, a more contemporary version is you look at the escort, say, so if it's a father, you say, Doug, do you give your blessing and support? And so again, you're speaking to the escort of the marrier. Fantastic. They stand in front of you, they're holding hands. And this is where I typically just want to get a cheer right off the bat. I say, so here they are today. They're here to get married. They're perfect for each other. And then there's that whole, can I get an amen? Can I get a? And you get everybody cheering. So this is really number two. I really like to say, and I've heard people say, well, I don't like, can I get an amen or can I? So some people say, who's with me, or am I right about that? But this is the second one. And there's a reason why I do this. You want to kind of restore that energy that you created for everybody in the environment uh, in the opening remarks. So the opening remarks are getting people cheering and excited and anticipatory, and you break the fourth wall with them. This is, again, Unboring wedding style and system magic, but you're getting it here live on YouTube. And so when you create that incredible environment, which I think the officiant is very capable of doing, and I would say has the responsibility of doing, because I always look at wedding guests and they're very quiet and they're very demure most of the time. Some wedding guests are really ruckus and rowdy before the ceremony, and I love that. The rowdier the better, and especially if they've all got a drink in their hand. Every single wedding ceremony has a different vibe, but the processional is rightly intense. There's going to be some crying, there's going to be some moving moments, emotions are going to be tweaked. And so when your couple stands in front of you and settles themselves and you say, thank you, everyone, please be seated, and they sit down, there is like that kind of tension is resettled, which is why I immediately want to say, here they are, they're perfect for each other. Can I get an amen? Or who's with? They're perfect for each other. Am I right? And everybody cheers. They're with you again, and you're breaking the fourth wall and kind of giving them a moment to breathe. Great photos usually come from this moment. The couple laughs, and you can laugh with them, and it's an absolutely awesome moment. Now, after that, if somebody has passed away, that is where you will commemorate them. Today is an amazing day of joy and celebration, but we are also mindful of Grandpa Joe, who passed, and so you give a quick commemoration there, and things will kind of get settled again, rightly so. You might want to take a moment to pause. But then after that, and this is kind of a philosophy that you're going to see generally moves throughout, and so you'll just want to put this in your bank, but this is number three. I always say, they're here today to get married, they're perfect for each other, but then you want to say, how did these two get here today? How did they meet and fall in love and choose to spend the rest of their lives together? Well, I want to tell you, I want to use the time that I have. And so this is that reflective thing. Everything we do should be reflective in the mirror sense. People are listening to us, they're leaning in. You're saying, I'm going to tell you the true story, or one of the true versions, I like to say, of how these two got here today. And you're beaming that attention back onto the couple. And what you're doing here is you're saying, I'm going to tell you a story. The reason why this is so key is when you say that, I love this moment. I've talked about it for years. People who are not paying attention already because they think they're in a wedding ceremony, it's time to tune you out, look at the birds, secretly check their email on their phone. When you say, I'm going to tell you a story, they look up. they can't believe that this might actually get interesting. Okay. And so that's why it's such a key strategy to say, I'm going to tell you a true story version of how these two got here today. And it's fun because a lot of time the couple will say, like, oh boy, or something like that, because they're like, here, he's going to rake us over the coals. So, the officiant's really going to go for it now, because sometimes their story has some hijinks or that kind of thing. It's a great moment. And I always recommend number 3 is I'm going to, etc. Okay. You tell the whole story. That was number 3. And then at the end, you ask them, so having said all that, this is where I put the intent of marriage. Do you stand here today to give yourselves to each other in marriage? They say, we do, or I do. Wonderful. And now is the 4th one. And this is really, again, part of the same philosophy of the I'm going to tell you a story. When it's time for their vows, typically, if there's readings or things, you'll say, Aunt Sue, the couple have asked Aunt Sue to come read. And so, Aunt Sue, I'm going to invite you now. There's no I there. But for something like the vows, if it's repeat after, I missed a whole part. Let's back up. For the speech, and maybe some of you were thinking, wait, what happened to the love abouts? Let's back up before we ask them the intent of marriage. In your speech, you're going to tell the whole story about the couple. And then I always include what the couple love about each other and what other people love about them. And that is where I think it's really powerful to say, I did a little bit of homework. I did a little bit of asking around. And so Sam and Alex, here is what we love most about you. Or you can say, I did a little bit of asking about Sam and Alex, and this is why Sam can say of Alex, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So I'm kind of lumping that in together in the sense of you're going to say, I did a little bit of homework, or I did a little bit of asking around, and here's what Sam says about Alex. And then you read that out. And here's what Alex says about Sam. Okay. And so that is, again, you're referencing yourself, but you're basically setting up this super loving moment with everybody where you say, I'm going to read to you what they are like so desperately in love with each other about. And then I'm going to read to you what other people said about them. And you read the, ironically, you'll read this in like the I voice. So, Sam, what Sam wrote about Alex, you're going to be saying, Alex is my light. She's my love when I was on hard times. So you are saying I and me in the whole love about section. But of course, you're not talking about yourself. You're kind of quoting in first person. I've tried it the other way. It's weird. It sounds weird when you're like reporting. Sam said this. He said Alex is this, and he loves Alex for that. And I just, years and years ago, I switched to the I voice there, and it just makes people cry. The couple's usually crying, guests are white. It's just really, really powerful. And then vice versa, okay? So first is what the couple love about each other. You say, I'm going to read to you. It's for many reasons. When I asked Sam what he loves about Alex, he said this. When I asked Alex what she loves about Sam, she said that, okay? And so then you read out in the I voice. Then, of course, I typically say something like people are in love are, of course, going to say things like this about each other. Friends and family have a more realistic and objective opinion. So I did some asking around. Here's what we love about Sam and Alex. And you read that out, okay? But you want to kind of give an indication that you've done a bit of homework, okay? And then that culminates, like I say, into the intent of marriage. Do you stand here today? And then move on to the elements. So now we are into the vows. And when you are about to give the vows, like I say, this is an overarching principle that is similar to I'm going to tell a story. You want to say, I'm going to ask you a question if it's I do vows. You always want to be very instructive as the wedding officiant. It's totally okay to set up every section by saying, I'm going to, and then you may. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a big long question, Sam, and you may reply with I do. Okay. And then you ask the question, do you, Sam, take Alex to be, etc. And of course, if it's repeat after me, you'll say, Sam, please repeat after me. Okay. That's pretty obvious. You're used to that from wedding tradition. But for the vows, you are going to be self-referential. But the concept or principle I want you to remember there is that you are being instructive and instructional. And that'll kind of go to the third bonus area that we talked about after I finish listing kind of the 7 parts of your more classic traditional. I'd say 90% of my couples choose this kind of ceremony where I'm going to make self references possibly 7 times. Of course, if they write and read their own vows, you don't need to say this at all. You don't need to say it yourself. You can say, Sam and Alex have chosen to actually, you know what? You do. Sam and Alex, I'm checking myself. I'll typically say they've chosen to write and read their own vows. And so you'll give Sam their sheet of vows and then say, and so Sam, I'm going to ask you to go first. But you can't say, Sam, you may go first. But typically I say, Sam, I'm going to ask you to go first. And you'll ask them in the workshop who wants to go first. But it's kind of this thing where I will ask you to go first. Okay. So in the vows, you're going to likely make a self reference, but it's because you're being very instructional on what's happening. Okay. Then they will exchange rings typically. You might say, well, how come there's no self reference in rings? It's because, there might be some repeat after me there. Again, please repeat after me, but that's similar to vows. But you're not going to make any references outside of that. Okay. And then once the rings are on, there may be other things added like a prayer or a blessing. But blessing, I would just say, Sam and Alex, a traditional blessing upon your marriage, and then you basically say that. So now we're to the next one, which is of course the pronouncement. I by the authority given me. So this part you are. This is like I say, you have proven who you are at this point. That's why you don't need to do a long introduction, whether you're a professional or whether you're a friend or relative. You have definitely earned your stripes by this point of the ceremony, telling a great story, keeping it all about them, being very reflective. And now you've earned your right to just say by the authority given me. And some of you say by the internet. Some of you, it's more formal than that, by the government or by the state of such and such. In my case, by the province of New Brunswick, I pronounce you. And that's so you'll definitely use I in the pronouncement. Okay. Then the signing happens. Typically nothing there. It's all we. We're going to go sign some papers. We'll be right back. Please keep your seats. You go sign, you come back. I always start with a question after. They sign the papers. It's legit. They're completely, totally, officially married now. Everybody cheers. And then I say a few things for you to know as you move to the next part of the day, or for us to know as we move to the next part of the day. And of course, it's what the couple are doing, taking photos. Guests are invited to cocktail hour, etc. So once again, word cloud is you typically for closing remarks, just like opening remarks, lots of you, closing remarks, lots and lots of you there as well. Okay. And so though, then as Ben said, because he is a member of Unboring Wedding Academy and he knows that this is pure lightning and pure gold, I say, and I don't usually say, maybe I do. I have just one more question. I think typically it's all how you phrase it, but I have just one more question, or I think maybe there's just one more thing to do. Are you ready to party? But yeah, use the I as your frame of reference. I have just one more question for you. Are you ready to celebrate as hard as these two are in love tonight? And people always shout and scream, and that brings the house down. And then you say, please stand with us now. And typically you say us because you're standing there with the couple and or all the wedding party and their attendants. And it is my great joy and honor. So this is the very last one to present to you for the very first time. And, you say it, Sam and Alex as wife and wife, or Sam and Alex as married, whatever it is, up they go. And that was the complete list of 7, if you were counting, maybe 8, depending on how you lump things together. Okay. This is perhaps not as formal of a list as if I had slides or something like that. But hopefully that was a good synopsis. Dare I review it? Let's see. Right off the top, you give a quick self-introduction. Then after the couple are in front of you, you say, can I get an amen, or can I get a heck yeah, or who's with me? These two are perfect. I'm going to tell you the story of how these two got here today. I did a little bit of homework. Number 4, I asked so and so what they love, and I asked you what you love about them. Then you're going to move into the vows. Repeat after me, or I'm going to ask you to go first, or I'm going to ask you a question. Same thing for rings. Then, of course, I pronounce you, and then I present to you for the very first time. And then right before that, I have just one question. Are you ready to celebrate? Okay. So 7-ish. There you go. But now let's talk about rounding out. What are the other 3 kind of bonusy ones? And this is where I really get asked a lot. And members who are members of Unboring Wedding Academy, who of course Jen and I prioritize replying to, but I get many questions from all over the world every day, even from non-members, and I get asked a lot because I think a lot of people, and I admire people who are like, I don't want to be too showy. I don't want to be including myself too much. So that's where these 3 bonuses come. And Jeff, finally, your moment has come because one of these is for someone in your position. Before we get to that, I'll just say kind of the 8th one would be what I already said. So it's more like a principle of if there are other rituals, it's like the vows. It's like I'm telling when you say, I'm going to tell you a story, I'm going to ask you a question. Number 8 is more of a principle, but you will, if something needs to happen, I'm going to lay this cord over your hands. If it's a hand fasting, sometimes you want to invite a couple. I'm going to ask you to go mix some sand or something like that. But a lot of the time, I'll just start talking about sand mixing and they'll go over there. But if there's something that is a little bit more technical in the wedding ceremony as a ritual, you might want to say, I'm going to do this now, and the couple are going to do that now. So as I join your hands, please reflect on this. Or as I attach the veil to the groom, something that's a Filipino tradition, or as I place the coins into your hands, something like that. Sometimes you may need to refer to what you're doing and then ask the couple very directively, very instructively to do something or think about something or that kind of thing. As I say, as the officiant, it is very okay to be very, very directive. And that goes for inviting somebody, like I say, to read. I invite you to come and read now. It's okay to invite or instruct or direct and use the I voice because, of course, that has nothing to do with making it all about yourself. So that's kind of like the all general number 8, I would say. Or 9. What are we up to now? And the 2 remaining, I would say, are um, this is where I really recommend, and when I get asked to look over scripts for friend or family, especially fathers of one of the marriers, that fear of not making it the show about them because it's your own child, I absolutely love that, respect it, and advise it. But I'm going to say, if you are a parent or friend or family, but especially if you're a parent, and one of the marriers is your child, after you tell the story, talk about what they love about each other, talk about what everybody loves about them. And again, that typically just takes 60 seconds. You just create a mashup of here's what we love about Sam and Alex. We love this, we love that, because you did some homework. You definitely want to move into, and this is where today's double meaning reveal comes, almost right at the end, is you want to give a bit of a reflection. People want to hear what you think about your child marrying this person. And I would say if you didn't do that as, say, the father of the bride or groom getting married there, it would raise some eyebrows. If you, tell a great story and say what they love about each other and say what everybody else loves about them without at any point interjecting and saying, as Alex's dad. Now, I don't think I'd be able to do this. I would just start, crying. I'm a bit of a crier. That's, and I've talked to my kids about how I'm sure I would be incapable of officiating their wedding emotionally. Because it'll just be so beautiful and I'll be so happy and so overwhelmed and all that stuff. That's how I roll. I only cry at happy, beautiful, moving parts in movies, and the wedding would be no exception. But I really think you should add a reflection about yourself. Seeing the person that Alex has become. I could not be prouder of of who Alex has become and the person she has decided to marry, seeing you together is absolutely stunning. I couldn't have wished for more. That kind of thing. Doesn't have to be long, but people really want to hear from a parent of the couple. Now, some of you will get asked to give a reception speech. If you are asked to give a reception speech and you've already officiated, I would say put your officiant hat on and advise the couple, hey, I'm officiating the wedding. I will reflect, I'll give a bit of a reflection on what I love about you two as part of the ceremony. So I don't need to give a separate speech. Okay. I'll leave that to you. You can decide if you want to do both. But I would say, I mean, if I were a parent officiating, I'd like to kind of be done and I'd like to shoot my shot in the officiating, in the ceremony itself, make it part of that beautiful speech. And then I don't see the need to give a speech later. You might want to go stand supportively next to your spouse if they want to give one. Or, of course, if the other marrier's parents, you can give them the stage. But just being up there and officiating the whole ceremony, like I say, people really want to hear what you think. They can wait in anticipation until the reception if you'd like, but it's a really suitable and appropriate time to do that right in the wedding ceremony, giving the speech, I believe. Okay. And the third one is, and this would be number 10, drum roll. People ask me about being self deprecating in the speech. And I would say if you're a really good friend or family member, I recently had a member right there. They're a member of Unboring Wedding Academy. They did the whole thing. They took the training. The script looked great. And they said at one point, she says he's a tall drink of water. And, the three of us have a really great relationship. And I wanted to say, he said to this to me as the officiant, I wanted to say something like, which is a term that has never been used to describe me once in my life. And I actually really laughed. I think that'll get a big laugh because it is self-deprecating. And so this is where I'm giving the green light to, a tasteful number, maybe one or two little moments like that. You don't want to start absolutely self-flagellating and just, oh, woe is me, being a martyr up there and cutting yourself down. People are going to start feeling bad for you. And then you've done the thing you don't want to do. You're making it all about you in your humiliation or deprecation. Don't do that. But it's okay to make one or two little comments, perhaps, depending on your relationship with them. I find like self-deprecation can be really funny. However, anytime if you are, teasing or mocking the couple, coming in over top of them, kind of pushing them down or punching down at them, I would say no, scrap that. Okay, just because again you are in such a position of authority and attention as the officiant that it comes off as a bit untasteful if you, I don't know, slap on the groom for his looks or rag on the bride for being disorganized or sloppy at home, or her bedroom's always a mess, or something like that. You want to be really tasteful about that. It depends on the relationship, but I would say if you are elevating the couple at your own expense a couple of times, that can be really, really funny as well. But I've noticed it doesn't play well the other way. So I think that's it. I think I've gone through all 10/11, depending on how you word things. Anything above that, I would say, is becoming a little bit too self-indulgent. And anything less than that, you might run the risk of being kind of robotic and not personable, not connecting emotionally, not seeming like you are as invested in the couple and in the proceedings up there as you could be. Okay, so that is my little rundown. Any questions now? I believe, Ben, you said, I change it up each time. I think we were talking about, I just have one question for you. Me too. My closing remarks, I've done them hundreds and hundreds of times, but I follow that same formula every time. This is, related to another question. People say, like, what if I do this style and system again and again? And people, every time I officiate, it's friends and family of the couple, and I'm getting asked again and again by the same group of people to officiate weddings. They've all seen me officiate 3, 4, 5 times, to which I always say, do you only go to your favorite restaurant once in your whole life, right? Like whether you're a fan of fast food or not, or Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, there is a comfort in knowing what you're going to get. You watch your favorite movie multiple times. You might go to a play. Oh, I've seen Catcher in the Rye. I'm not going to go see it this time. The cast has changed. Your couple's different. I would say the opposite happens in my case. People see me on site and I recognize it, and there's a buzz. They can't wait for me to do my thing. I'm going to tell a unique story, but they know I'm going to engage them, and I'm going to say 90% of the same things around the elements, the opening remarks, the close. Are you ready to celebrate? They love it. And it becomes to the point where it's almost like a catchphrase. And this is a phenomenon we know about as well, right? A catchphrase, some character says it or something like that. And if you listen to your favorite podcast, I listen to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, and people shout out to him on the street things from the podcast. It's kind of like that, where people know, people love what you do. They know you're engaging them, and it's not watering it down at all. On the contrary, people love it. So don't worry about that. But yeah, you can change it up every time. Might be a little different, but you're going to follow that same kind of structure every time. Okay. Any questions before we pop off here? It has been 3/4 of an hour. I don't know what you're doing. I'm here to take some questions now related to this or anything else, especially if you are new or a first timer. Feel free to just ask whatever you'd like. I'm just scrolling up to see. Yeah, Mike says, I'm going to tell you a true version of the love story. That one always gets a laugh because and frankly, that's a strategy that I talk about in my course. You're kind of giving yourself a little bit of creative license there. And the couple always looks at each other with a little bit of oh yeah. And what really works in your favor is when your couple fills out their responses, they don't know what the other has written, right? So you've got the creative license of saying, I'm going to tell you a true version. You're never going to lie, but some of the things might be slightly exaggerated. You weren't there on the first date. Nobody was. So you're kind of doing the fly on the wall perspective. And I teach in the course about how you really want to lean into what they're learning, what they're thinking, points that maybe they're different. And so it's a lot of fun. So I always do that. Let me see. Any other questions? I'm really scrolling up here. People are getting blown away by weather, I see. So hold on. It's a bit of a blizzard up there and in the Dakotas, apparently. I wonder if that means it's coming here. Okay. I'm not seeing any direct questions today. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. It will be a week before I am back on here live. Join us again next week. Next week, I think I'm going to make attempts at discussing a bit of a hot potato. I was asked by a member, and it's come up a few times, enough that I've decided let's talk about it. For those of us who are pro-officiants or have any sort of business, how do you, or should you not, or I think I'm committing to talking about this now, much to my own chagrin maybe, or demise. If you have a political stance on some, geopolitical or social or economic phenomenon, things going on in the world, when and how, if at all, should you comment on it? When and how should you show your position on that or not? Should you hide that? That is something that I think we are all dealing with on a regular basis, whether it's marriage equality or a war going on in the world or that kind of thing. We feel these things in our lives. And then comes the decision of if you're engaged on social media or that kind of thing, do you completely hide this and shut yourself off? Or do you take a stance on something? I don't want to say take a stand, that's kind of activism, but do you take a stance on social media about something that you are passionate about? Or do you hide it? And if you do take a stance, is there kind of a best way to go about it that won't mean the utter end of your business for someone who disagrees with you? I think that'll be a fascinating conversation. And like I say, perhaps the last episode I'll ever make. No, just kidding. It'll be great. Like I said, a bit of a hot potato, but it's something I deal with, and inquiring minds want to know. So I'm willing to discuss that next week, I believe. So that'll be episode 6, and I think I just decided that's what we're going to do. Thanks, friends, for a great week. If you're a member of Unboring Wedding Academy, you know we are still, until tonight, in the Efficiently Unlimited Founders launch. And so thank you to, I know people wanted a live update here today. We are up to, I believe, 103 people have come in and purchased Unboring Weddings Efficiently Unlimited for life. So thank you. I just wanted to come on here live and say that. Members have been live together for the last many days as I demo and did some training on the new software, which automates and carries everybody through every step of the Unboring Wedding Academy process, the style that I use and that I teach. We've created a whole new software that just automates that. No more copying, pasting, no more sending emails. It all happens on its own. So thank you to all those members. If you are interested in becoming a member of Unboring Wedding Academy, joining these amazing people who you see in the chat, we have a Facebook group of over 700 members where people are engaging and hanging out. Unboringweddingacademy.com. You can join today. And I look forward to having you as a member of this incredible group of people. Okay, that's it, friends. I will leave you to post-Thanksgiving, pre-holiday season goodness, whatever you are doing. And thanks for joining me today. Ultimately, we want to create the most engaging wedding ceremonies we can imagine for our guests and absolutely thrill our couples. It is all about them. We want to reflect the attention back onto them. Any attention we're getting as the officiant needs to be right back on them. It's never the officiant show. And if you are a friend or family member, you want to reflect briefly in your speech about your couple, what you love about them so much. As a professional, that is not something that I can ever really do. So that never makes it into my ceremonies. I am officiating for a relative next year, and I will add a reflection there because, again, when you're a friend or relative and you talk about what other people have thought about this couple and what they love about them, you can include yourself as well. Hopefully this was all very helpful. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful week. See you next week in episode 6. And until then, marry on. Have a good one.